Lhasa. This is a special broadcast of CCTV News Inside Tibet. Well, throughout the week, we've been covering on Tibet and bring you up close to the Tibetans, tell you the stories of average lives of them. Well, we are half through the Shantung Festival already, and millions of Tibetans are now prepared for the horse racing festival across the plateau on Saturday. Well, the most important ritual before the race is, of course, in the ice-cold lake water. They will bathe the horses in the ice-cold lake water. The Tibetans believe this can help wash away the qi, or the bad spirits, inside their bodies so that they can perform even better on track. But Tibet is the roof of the world, over 4,000 meters above the sea level. People believe that they are closer to heaven here, and their horses are divine creatures coming all the way from the sky. The horse racing festival is a day to celebrate those amazing creatures on this amazing landscape. Tibetan horses enjoy a very high status in the lives of the Tibetans. On the plateau, the natural environment is harsh, temperatures are low, and the air is thin. But people can live without horses, then they have a critical means of transportation at the same time, and together they battle nature on the high altitude plateau. Well, it will be a very exciting picture to see the equestrian competition on the high plateau. Well, we've been covering the animals, the plants, and people on Tibet over the past week, and now we are joined by my colleague Han Bin and Ma to talk about their reporting experience on the plateau. Well, many people have their perceptions about this place. Some think it is an idyllic, Shangri-La-like place. Everything is perfect, people are happy. But on the other hand, some people think it is underdeveloped areas. The economy is not that advanced, and people still lack of modern amenities. So what is your picture, Han Bin?
I think that exactly reflects the complexity situation here. We've been here many times, but each time we find the changes. Some people want the development, some others want to keep the tradition. Modernization versus, and some of the problems here are not actually ethnic or religious, are in fact also happening elsewhere. I think it's a huge challenge to give Tibet an objective picture, and that's why some of the media have an eye on that.
Do you think Tibet is a particular case when it is facing a dilemma of modernizing its culture and economy while also keeping its way of life?
I think that here, what happening in Tibet is not an easy answer. So what I always think, why Tibet is always a hard debated issue and people in different parts see Tibet in a different way is because of the different cultural backgrounds. For example, I think the Western media sometimes a kind of Shangri-La plot. They think Tibet is always isolated. It should be isolated
forever.
Forever, clean, love, democratic, and is always full of peace. But actually, that kind of plot has never existed in real world. Tibet is like many other parts of the world, is developing along with the global development.
So it is not realistic to keep the Tibet as it has been over centuries.
And I don't think it has to be a zero-sum game to keep tradition and modernity together. There can be a balance between these two.
And some people are saying that in the early 20th century, when Tibet looked modernity in the eyes, they have a trouble welcoming or rejecting it.
I think what is most important, how Tibetans see this development. But if we go deep into their lives, we start to find this also not a unique answer. The elder generations want to keep their original life. However, the younger generations, they want to change. A lot of young generation people, they study abroad or they study outside this region and bring something new and change their minds.
Well, that's the question, because those younger generations are better educated and better informed of the outside world. So they have more choices. That poses the challenge, whether they will keep their own traditional way.
I think the interesting thing is when these young people come back, they will bring something new. And the changes here in Tibet is not only bring about by modernization, but also by people. Well, the Chinese government 2 decades ago initiated a massive plan to introducing a huge number of Tibetans to study in the inland. And when they come back, they bring the changes, but most of them choose to come back. I talked with a Tibetan teacher who is part of that program and told me the reasons behind this trend and what it's about that draws all these Tibetans back home.
Safe, S-A-F-E, 安全是什么？
A creative way of learning English using concepts from Western countries. The teacher, Tibetan Norbu Drumdal, named this course Treasure Hunt. Although it's just been open for a month, nearly 200 local Tibetans have already signed up. Drumdal attributes his language skills to his experience studying in various cities in China.
If you feel like there are a lot of possibilities, you become more and more confident. When you become a confident person, you know, you can do a lot of things. So the most important reason why I want to come back is I feel home, you know, like here. Because I love my culture, like in Tibet. Because in different time, I can visit different monasteries. People have, you know, like a spiritual pursuit more than elsewhere. And then we would like to share, you know, that's really cool about it here.
23-year-old Dampa Dorji is helping Drumdal during his vacation. Dorji is currently studying at a university in Shanghai.
I get high educated, and I have a lot of opportunities to come back to help more people in Lhasa. Tibet needs us. Tibet is waiting for us to make contribution to Tibet.
To promote the Tibetan language, Drumdal has started an online course for foreigners.
That lesson is teaching you how to say, I love you. We say like a nga rang la gagido. And then you can listen to the audio.
Actually, in Tibet, we don't really say that. That is nga rang la gagido.
China has been sending Tibetan students to study outside the autonomous region since 1985. Training more professionals for the once isolated plateau is a way to boost Tibet's development and their own. And most students choose to come back after graduation.
Look, you can see
Tibet is changing,
that,
along with the rest of the world. Drumdal says today's Lhasa has more people, more cars, and more choices. He believes such changes are inevitable.
Is it a positive or negative? It depends on how I use this change. If I use the change well, this is a positive. That is something what I always believe. A language is very, very important. Because the language carries culture or traditions. If Tibetan people don't speak Tibetan, then the culture is gone, definitely.
Drumdal is doing what he can to preserve the unique culture. He's found his true value in his calling. Drumdal says doing good and making people happy is the core philosophy of Tibetan beliefs. And he feels at home with who he is and where he comes from. CCTV in Lhasa.
So this teacher, English teacher, Drumdal, he's pretty interesting. He speaks English, Tibetan, and Chinese. He's been traveling all around the world. But he still chooses to come back to Tibet to teach. So what draws him back?
Well, actually, I've talked to many similar cases, not only teacher Drumdal. Different people have different opinions, but there's something similarity in common. I think it's the deep-rooted culture and their beliefs. I think the Tibetans, they are brought up by teaching the Tibetan Buddhism when they were young, and a kind of attitudes towards life, this life, next life, the happiness. And that is something unique, which is quite different from the people living outside. I think although a lot has been changed, something remains unchanged, like the lifestyle, like their attitudes towards life. And that is something can be shared.
So you're saying that their belief has a lot to do with their choices with their life.
That's also interesting. Different people have different opinions about beliefs. For example, Drumdal says that the beliefs is about doing good things and making people happy. Well, the monk in Joba Monastery told me the beliefs is about a simple life, but also not asking too much gains. So
well, that's of course the charm of this place and the people. And that's why Tibet itself has attracted a lot of people from elsewhere to come and visit and maybe even stay here.
Exactly. You know, Tibet fascinates people not just in the eye but also in the heart. There are so many things to see in Tibet, but people don't just walk away with nice pictures in their camera, but rather they would rather slow down to feel and try to understand and to try to appreciate the charm of Tibet. And I think it really takes time to fully feel the charm of Tibet, especially once you leave. And once you leave, I think the charm of Tibet becomes stronger. Like for me, every time when I'm back to Beijing from Tibet, I would look out of the window, out on the street, and I would see pictures of, the monasteries merging with skyscrapers. And I would also see devoted worshippers walking along with busy pedestrians.
And you are not alone. There is a stereotype that Tibet is under the influence of the outside world. Actually, it's the other way around. Many people outside Tibet has been influenced by what's happening here.
Absolutely. Tibet may seem a distant and inaccessible land to the outsiders, but its mystery and beauty keep drawing people in. And I recently talked to two women who have become part of Tibet.
Looking carefully at each stroke she makes, Anna Yeshe has been learning tanka painting for a year and a half. She was born and raised in the United States. Her mother is Tibetan and her father American. But family ties are not the only thing that keep her coming. She's deeply fascinated by this art form, spending a year to study at Tibet University and training in her uncle's tanka shop.
I find that it suits me very well because I'm a perfectionist, and tanka painting has a very traditional method, so you have to follow it perfectly. I found it very peaceful, and it's like meditating when you paint.
Anna is fluent in Tibetan. She says she loves Tibetan people because they're so happy and giving. She says all the time she spent here has made her who she is today.
Well, when I'm here, I feel complete. When I'm in America, I feel like there's something missing. But when I'm here, I just feel like there's nothing wrong.
People connect and identify with Tibet in so many ways. There's a long list of reasons and plenty of pictures to draw people in. But once here, they gradually build their own perceptions. Sometimes they discover a passion, and sometimes they find love. But whatever the reason to come, there's always a better reason to stay.
Makiami is a hot tourist spot in Lhasa. For 16 years, it's developed from a local restaurant to a corporation promoting Tibetan culture. Its history is also the love story of the owners. Mu Xianghui met her Tibetan husband in Beijing when he was trying to open a branch. She then decided to see Lhasa for herself.
When I first came, I was overwhelmed. I've never been to this close to the sky, nor have I been to any place this pure. I fell in love with Tibet right away.
Now the couple travel between Beijing and Lhasa to run their business. And Mu feels she's part of Tibet. It's another place she calls home.
Love, the beautiful landscape, and the Tibetan culture are what made her stay.
People who come leave their notes in these books. The true charm of Tibet can only be felt in person. Wang Mengmeng, CCTV, Lhasa, Tibet.
Well, Tibet is no longer an isolated place. People come from here, and people also come in here. So you met several people last night that they're talking about the charm of Tibet.
Well, I met some vendors out on the night markets last night, and they are people who used to have very decent jobs, and they quit. They just, they bought some stuff from Nepal and would sell it to tourists at the night markets, and they don't care about money. What they want is to be part of the landscape and to adapt to the Tibetan lifestyle, and of course also to interact with people in a different setting. So it's a matter about what are you willing to give up in exchange for what you love. So these people, they look so happy. The vendor told me that I only made 10 yuan yesterday, and but I spent 15 yuan buying peanuts. But he's still very happy. So I think the journey to Tibet is about is a process of self-discovery.
So happiness seems to be a very key word here. People tend to be happy in this place. Yeah. What is behind the charm of this?
Well, actually, I think the charm of Tibet is not only the scenery, it's a unique culture and its people. So that's exactly why we need to give a long-term observation in the future. We definitely need to come back in the future, right?
We're going to be back for
and
sure.
On that happy note, we will end our special program and our journey inside Tibet on NewsHour. Well, Tibet may be a dreamland for many, but for the people living here, it is their home and their family. Well, they have their happiness and frustrations, progress and problems. Well, Tibetans are caught between history and reality. But still, they are moving ahead. Well, thank you for staying with us. I'm Zoe in Lhasa. Now back to you, Pandung, in Beijing.
Thank you.